So it's still the Eastern Business Report on the Afia Business Morning, and of course I am Nnamdi Obanya. Now, job seekers in the Southeast and South face already mounting problems. They have a lot of issues waiting for them before they even get jobs, from lack of opportunities in the region to inadequacies in the educational system that demand post-graduation training just for them to be competent, to issues like federal character, which present another hurdle for federal government jobs and postings with merit thrown out of the window and sacrificed on the altar of state of origin. Now, add to that the issue of monetary demands for employment. Simply put, cash for jobs. How do economically handicapped young people from poor backgrounds compete with wealthy members of the political and economic elite when it comes to securing jobs? And what can we do about this? I mean, is there a way out of this? And to help us answer these questions is passionate educationist and CEO Educare, Mr. Alex Onyia, who joins us now. Good morning and good to have you on the program.
Good morning, Nnamdi. How are you doing today?
Can you hear me, Mr. Onyia?
Yes, can you hear me?
Very well, thank you. Good morning, good to have you on the program.
Yeah, good morning, Nnamdi. How are you doing today?
Well, it's Monday, so we have the new week bounce, and we're hoping to carry it as far as we can.
Oh, brilliant.
So, I mean, this is something you've been talking about, cash for jobs. Most people always see the corruption side of it, people exploiting the system. But with every crime, there's a victim. And in this case, it's the job seekers. First and foremost, just to give us a background, how deeply rooted is this cash for jobs issue? And is it restricted to just government agencies, or has it also taken roots deeply in the private sector?
From my understanding so far, firstly, this is deeply rooted in the public sector. It's deeply rooted in the public sector. Almost every public sector agency or organization is actually part of this. Then for the private sector, I think it's highly infinitesimal. But I know it's deeply rooted in the public sector. And that is really, really, really bad. So for you to get a job in a federal agency, either you have a strong connection to a senator, governor, or you have to pay. So, which is extremely bad. That is one of the things that is a very big concern for me lately.
Now, we've seen reports in the past. We've heard them. At a point, I remember it was 250,000 to get into the Nigerian police force, customs, immigration. That was the word going around then. But now we're hearing of other places. Now the quote-unquote juicy parastatals and big institutions like the CBN, NNPC, NIMASA, Ports Authority, Shapers Council, places that have good packages. Are there any particular regions? Because I'm guessing oil and gas, ports, shipping, but are there any areas in the public sector that seem to be skewed in terms of these practices?
For me, I think the places that have more, that pay more, actually does this more. So when it comes to the oil and gas, it's even more deep. That's where you see people pay a lot more. I'm even hearing that some people pay as much as 8 million to even get into CBN. So it just all depends on the area, right? These things are backdoor activities, right? It's not like it's formal from the organizations. So, but when you try to get in, then you meet with the blocker. At that point, you now start saying that, you have to pay this. And by the time you pay this, you get a call. If you don't pay it, you won't get a call.
What is even scarier now is the new information that, apart from these places that pay well, which should have some of our brightest and most strategic minds, we also have places that demand heavy professionalism that could literally cost you your life. We're hearing that placements in certain teaching hospitals are now attracting these sorts of payments. Is that something that has become widespread enough for us to be worried about it?
The sad thing is this has been going on for several years. State and federal government hospitals, right? It's been going on for several years. And it's not one, it's not two. Almost every single federal and state hospital these days actually participates in this. It's quite unfortunate. Whether you made first class, whether you made second. Remember, it is not in all cases, right? In every 100, maybe there are 2 or 3 people that get seen without actually having to pay. But most of the people complain exactly about this same thing. And the sad thing is that at this point, even when you pay, it's still not a guarantee. And even when you finally get it, they will still slash your salary. So you're battling a lot of demons trying to be able to work, serve your country.
Now, this last part you mentioned, that even after getting the job, we've been hearing of that, where people get incomplete salaries. Now, we know that coming in, it's smoke and mirrors, backroom meetings, undercover handshakes, brown envelopes. But when you're in the job, in the system, there's a payroll system. How do they still manage to cut people's salaries? And this does not raise any flag. The EFCC has not descended on anybody. ICPC has not opened any cases. How are they able to do this and go on without any issues?
When you come to EFCC and tell them that they're meant to pay you 150,000 and they pay you 70,000, EFCC will never pay attention to you. They definitely want to take on big cases. Somebody's to 100 million, 500 million. And most of the time, if you check the cost of trying to engage EFCC, you rather don't just talk. So most of the time, you see a lot of people rather just cry, try to protest internally, and then give up. So most of the time, I usually don't blame them. The truth of the matter is, this is so bad. And at the end of the day, you keep, as a student, you've spent 6 years, 7 years, in some cases 8 years, trying to get a particular degree. And at the end of the day, even with your excellent results, you are trying to get a placement and you realize that you still have to pay. That is why you hear the word school and scam, because that's actually the origin of that. So after everything, so somebody that scored really low, right, who just knows somebody, gets ahead of me, right? So this is basically what happened, and that is why it's important that this thing stop. It happens everywhere. There's a lot of injustice in this, especially in these hospitals. A whole lot of injustice. Students are being treated anyhow. So what's the point of wasting time? That's why any slightest opportunity, they leave the country.
Yeah.
Because the country has absolutely no plan for them. Even the people who are crying of corruption, who have opportunities to be in different placements, they are still the one victimizing a lot of other people too. So it's not really about whether it's politicians or not. This is deeply rooted in almost every public sector that we have in this country.
I mean, and it's a worry. We're hearing that, Nigeria has 70,000 doctors and 16,000 have left. That percentage, people don't look at that percentage to realize that this is a situation where 1 in 3 doctors, or maybe, imagine 1 in 3 doctors suddenly leaving every hospital, every local government primary health care center. People don't really see the impact of these things. Now, let me localize it to the region now, because in the southeast and south, you have a lot of people who are, recently, we saw the students who, for some reason, were victims of a glitch, which, again, I have to congratulate you on taking head on and leading the charge that led to the denial of the destiny of almost a whole generation of children who now, even after getting their right results, have definitely lost faith in the system and in their country. So now, these children, many of whom may be from modest homes and have these results, might not make ministers' list and get to the school they want. When they get in, when they come out, what is the fate for them and what can be done? Because they are going straight. Many of them want to go into things like medicine, engineering. What is the fate for them post-university?
One of the things I tell the students is this. It's unfortunate that they are in Nigeria, especially at this time, right? They will do their best. At some point, if you didn't get medicine, maybe due to discrimination or maybe your score genuinely didn't get up to the cutoff, right? There will be options for shopping. Try to shop. And if you shop, you may likely get it. Because the most important thing for them is get into the university. Because at the end of the day, how many people in Nigeria actually practice what they study? So, but getting into the university environment even gives you higher chance of even getting the course, even if you want to write jam, getting the course that you actually desire. So just do every single thing to ensure that you get into the university. And there is a lot of departments that even after admissions, they still have a lot of spaces. So make sure you shop, and if you shop, you at least you get it. That's one of the things I normally tell you.
I mean, but when they now get into the university, they finish school, they spend 1 year doing national service, then they have to get into the job market. Now, what needs to happen? I mean, we have governors, we have House of Rep members, we have legislators, we have traditional rulers. What do all these stakeholders need to do to even protect the children from their regions? Because they are not going to be able to protect themselves if the job market is demanding money from them.
The reason why they don't protect them is, one, they are not victim of it. You know how Nigeria works. The only time you see politicians act is when something is directly affecting them. So, but if something is not that, is he a politician's child that will be there begging for a placement in a hospital? It's not possible, right? So because of that, they don't see it, and they will never see it. So if these things don't affect them, forget it, don't expect a change. However, one thing I know, I'm very confident, is this: we will someday get it right in Nigeria. I don't know how soon it's going to be. And once we get the leadership right in Nigeria, a lot of things will change rapidly. Because we need to restore merit, we need to restore justice in the system, and we also need to restore equity. This is basically the bedrock that makes every society succeed. If I'm working hard, knowing that I'm going to be judged by my hard work, it encourages me to work hard. But if I'm working hard, knowing that my hard work doesn't really matter, there's no incentive of working hard. So the whole purpose of going to school, study hard, perform well, do this, the whole purpose of encouraging children to do this is because we are promising them a system that will judge them by merit. But if that system is not there, then what's the point? Why should I go to school? Then the school is calm. Let me just do what others are doing and sort my way out. Or I'll go and learn a trade, which is even better.
I mean, learning a trade, I've always been a big, supporter of apprenticeship, vocational trainings, But again, we're seeing people are not even interested in, an honest day's job, because they've seen what happens to people who go to school. And we see people after 4 years in the university going to start school again in HK to learn to press and do Yahoo. After 4 years in university, we're seeing that on a regular basis. More and more people, we're seeing girls go into hookup, and it's very prevalent in the southeast and south. It's a simple dipstick test. You look at it and it seems as if everybody's second occupation is HK and as they call it, OS. Now, if people are getting discouraged at this level, do we really have the luxury to wait for the right leadership? Will it not be too late by then? Will we not have lost too many people, and will we not have, had a paradigm cultural shift, and people will no longer even be interested again by the time we're bringing, the right thing to the table?
The thing is that we're actually not waiting for the right leadership. That's the purpose of this conversation. What we're doing basically is intensifying awareness, increasing awareness, intensifying conversations to ensure that we are doing everything within our power. I mean, there are some things you can't change. I mean, if you're not the governor, if you're not the president, if you're not even a minister, there's absolutely things that you can't change. But one thing you can do is to intensify conversations that they will listen to, and it will give them a reason to think again, right? So which is what we are doing. This is what the reason why we're having this conversation. But the most important thing here is this: we need to restore a society where merit is the key, where justice is the key, and where equity is the key. This is the standard, so everybody knows, because tomorrow you may also be a minister. And if you are a minister or you're a governor tomorrow, right, and we're already having this conversation, you already know that this becomes the standard. The most important thing is we want every hard work to count. Why do people go and do all those things that you had mentioned earlier? Is that if they commit fraud, it is based on their hard work that they get their earning, right?
Yeah.
every other thing they do. And then they make more money. So they rather do it and sell their conscience. Because Nigeria is all about survival. Right?
Yeah.
I completely don't support it and I will never support it. But this is what the society pushes them to do. But if we start restoring merit and the greater percentage of people make progresses based on merit, a lot more people will be incentivized and will be encouraged to pursue merit, because at the back of everybody's heart, they want to do the right thing.
You know, you said two things that struck me earlier on. One was, people should get in university, because the truth is, how many people really practice what they study? And I agree with that 100%, because the university can expose you to an alternative career. Being in the university environment, you're exposed to other things. And I say this as someone who studied computer science and electronics and is here on set today talking about business on television. But I was exposed to this in the university environment. It was mass communication students who were going to radio stations that I followed and found the interest. And so I know the importance of even understanding and being in that environment, And there's also the second thing of the politicians. And I want to bring your attention to this and get your opinion. Because while, you were taking on this issue on Twitter, at the same time on Twitter, Mariam Onoha, representing Okigwe Federal Constituency of Imo State, she's also the House Committee Chairman on TED Fund and other services. She posted this on Twitter with pictures. Secured federal employment for constituents into FIRS, National Assembly, Service Commission, and TED Fund. Should a member of the House of Reps be personally securing employment for constituents? Is that proper?
Of course, it's not proper in any way. One of the things, what she's trying to do is she's trying to help her own constituents so that she can be re-elected. She's not doing it because she really wants love of the people, just because she wants to use it as a political score so that she can say that she did this for her constituency. And then she will definitely use it as a baseline to seek for re-election. This is absolutely wrong. There's a lot of disarray in the Nigerian system, a whole lot of disarray. That's why we need to correct a lot of things. And people do things and get away with it. Where is merit if those kind of things exist? And she's not the only person doing it. Almost every single person does it. There's no even guarantee that if you become that same thing tomorrow, that you will not do it. So it's really not about people, it's about the system. It's a systematic failure. And that is why we should focus on correcting errors in the system, not in people. We are human beings fully controlled by environment and influence. If she goes to be the same thing in the UK, trust me, she will never do it. So it's really not about her. For me, it's all about the system. That's why we need to start correcting errors in the system. We write WIRE, there's a lot of fraud. We also write JAM, there's very limited fraud. It's the same country, an exam. So they try to make their system ensure that they remove fraud to a great extent. These other people let their own porous. So that's why we need to correct these things. If government set up a system now to say all internship application must go through a federal application based on ranking, the federal does it and then deploys people to the hospitals. Automatically you've eliminated that fraud. So the people who does the deployment are not even in the hospitals. The recruitment and the deployment are not even in the hospitals. So if this thing is being done and a special agency, probably set up by the presidency, handles this, nobody even knows who does this, who does it, nobody knows them. Automatically merit will be restored. So you don't need to start advising people, no, just correct the system. Build a centralized system. When you are done, register, request, apply for internship, right? Maybe you can even do an online interview, something you can design based on the standard scoring system. Once everything is done, no problem. Based on your grade and your ranking, we can deploy you to hospitals. We are in charge of all these hospitals. We have a database of all these hospitals, right? So you take away the power of assignment or recruitment from the CMDs in those hospitals and take it to the federal government. Automatically, integrity will be fully restored. Nobody will come and say that I scored this and they took somebody that scored lower because of connection. No, because you don't even know who does that. That's why we need to focus on correcting these things systematically.
Now my second worry there is that once you move it away from the hospitals, you've eliminated all the hospital and state level fraud. But we've seen centralized systems like NYSC postings that people still somehow manage to manipulate. At the federal level now, because, the trickle-down, quote-unquote, effect, what can be done, even at that level, to separate the players in the federal government from the system that will handle the recruitment?
Sometimes in Nigeria, we want to move from disaster to excellence overnight. But remember, growth improvements are progressive, right?
Yeah.
If we move it from the hospitals to the federal government, we may not eliminate fraud 100%, but probably will be eliminated at least 40 to 60% of it.
Yes.
Which is a very healthy improvement. Then we can now look at better ways to even improve and enhance what we've already done, which can take us a little while to get to 100%. You get my point?
Yeah.
So, because of the fear of what may happen in the federal, if you don't make progress, you will remain where you are, and the error and the corruption will keep eating deeply. So what you need to do is, let's take it away from them and move it to the federal. Let's eliminate those internal corruption first, before we start making other enhancements. They can give it to a very secret agency nobody knows, right, that handles this. In as much as even with that, there may still be infiltrations. However, if the government wants to do it, they know how to do it.
When you say if the government wants to do it, they know how to do it, I agree 100%, because we've seen examples where this happens. While we may complain about some things in government, we've also seen a lot of examples where even where there's compromise, things are, done properly. Whether we like it or not, one of the most secure and efficient places that nobody really talks about in Nigeria is immigration at our international airports. If there is any system in Nigeria that is functioning to some satisfaction, immigration at our airports. And even the average Nigerian is very careful what they put in their box. So we know it's not that the government cannot be effective.
And the reason why they do that is because the federal airlines put pressure on them, the international airlines put pressure on them. Because if you didn't do your work well in Nigeria and they find it in Heathrow, it becomes a problem. But one of the days, one of my traveling days, I was asked, why are you people doing these things differently? Somebody explained to me that everything they do here also affects, if you are going to Turkey, if you are going to the UK, US, those are agencies, because if you don't do well, they will reduce your rating. Meaning that even if you get to those countries, the scrutiny will be 10 times higher. So because of that, they have to do work here, not because they want to do it, because you can see when coming still in that immigration, you can see the way passport changed. Remember before this new guy came in, to do passports is like miracle, and that's why the highest form of corruption was still in that system. Yeah. You have to leave Lagos to come to Ebonyi, because you heard that Ebonyi takes 1 month or 2 months. You have to come there. A lot of things, you have to pay a lot of money, do this, do that, just to be able to get your passport. But when this new guy came, he changed everything. You can even apply for passport online, and everything is found that you can do it very easy. So that's why if they really want to change it, they know what to do. But the point is, if they change it, they have to change it. You know what it means losing doctors in your system, or losing medical professionals in your system. Do you know the amount of damage? No, this is something that has to be changed immediately.
Before I let you go, I have one final thing to ask. we've talked about how, we can mitigate and start the process of eliminating these issues. In the now, is there anything maybe people need to come together to do? Maybe pressure the assembly, maybe make some laws, some immediate guiding laws that maybe can even lead to the fostering of this, because a lot of times I don't expect beneficiaries of something to have the impetus to want to change it. So what kind of pressure now? Because I'm a big believer in, self-responsibility and take responsibility. If I'm aware of this problem, what can I now, as Nnamdi Obanya, what can be my contribution to start the process of putting pressure beyond shining light on it to, help in fostering this change?
That's part of what we're doing now. Like I said, I think maybe these people are under the Department of Health, which is the Ministry of Health, right? They should take away those internship recruitment from the hospitals. Let it be a federal government responsibility. Simple. Well, and even the recruitment and their payment, let them take it away from the hospital. Let it be the federal government responsibility. So that the people, students don't go through hell. The simple thing to do here is very simple. Be the ones to get them, list them, assess them, and then deploy them. So that it's not about, NYSC, yes, there are posting, but at least deployment is relatively based on merit.
Yes.
You hardly ever see somebody being denied of deployment. But internship, they don't. So let it be the federal government's responsibility so that these children will stop suffering. Because these hospitals benefit from it, so they will never stop it. So that, for me, that is my clear recommendation. Federal government take over the set up a system and do the deployment. As you're finishing from school, register, or we already have your data. We do assessment and we deploy you to this hospital. If there are no spaces, we know. We know the allotted spaces that every single hospital, state or federal, has. We can even deploy you to private hospitals as well. Because all of them are still in Nigeria and they are still under your ministry. So the ones that are going to private, they will go. The ones that are going to public, they will go. But everything should be done seamlessly. I shouldn't be graduating with the best students in school, not even sure if I'm going to do internship. I'm already at home 2 years without internship. What's the purpose or what's the point of going to school?
This last point you made of also drafting them to private hospitals, and in the case of other employments like engineers and co, to private entities, is something I think that can be immediately implemented, because we already have the industrial training fund doing that while students are in school, deploying them to both public and private companies. And I think that model is the same students who, when they finish school, will want to go to jobs. So I think for doctors, engineers, health professionals, I actually think that this could be a simple game changer. Since the government is the one going to pay them by themselves, since they are handling everything, it doesn't matter whether in public or private, you'll be paid the same thing.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
I think that's a fantastic recommendation, and I think it's something we need to start making a lot of noise about, and probably try to get across to our legislators for those of us who actively do that. And thank you so very much. I'm not going to lie, I was expecting this level of depth on the topic, but I'm still very, very impressed, and thank you so much for being here this morning.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
And that's all we can take on the Eastern Business Report. But don't forget, Afia Business Morning is not yet over. If and Julie, the market, the king is waiting to take you into the market to meet the traders and see the products. So till I come your way tomorrow at 10 a.m. when business resumes for the day, I'm Nnamdi Obanya saying have a very, very profitable day.
Nka Lounge is back. Join us as we present to you the June edition of Nka Lounge on the 27th day of June 2025 with an electrifying live performance by the amazing Ife Music. Time is 8 p.m. till the block say when. Pull up your screen live on Afia TV, DSTV channel 254, GoTV 17, Free TV channel 748, and all our digital platforms including Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Afia TV Official. Or visit www